The first step you need to do with your paper is to fold it in half, hot dog style, right? Hamburger would be like this, hot dog style would be the long ways down. So find your crease, find your edges, and then you should have something that looks more like this. Once you have it folded, you have that really good crease on the side, you're gonna actually opening it back up. So I have my crease, which creates a line in the center of my paper. And this line is really important because for this first step, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using your markers, and on the top portion, that's where you're going to be drawing your city. So make sure you don't draw anything on this bottom portion with your markers. You're only drawing above this middle line. And this is where your city would be. And this is kind of like the base of the buildings. So what I've done is I have started an example for you already. Let me get this right here. With my washable markers. So you can see that this is where my folding point was, right here in that center. And then above it you can see where I've put my cityscape with my markers. For my cityscape, you can be as creative as you want. I wouldn't get really detailed with it because when you get to the point where you're applying the spray bottle with the water, it can get kind of messy and murky. So any sort of details you have in there will probably get washed a little bit. So you don't necessarily want to add a lot of details, but you can be kind of fun and creative and include things that represent you and what you enjoy. Miss Apula has a gym. She has a restaurant, she has Target, and she has an art store. What else can Miss Apula need? I really don't know. And what teacher doesn't love a Target? But for you guys, you could put a sports store, you could put a gaming store, whatever you really prefer. It's going to say something about you and what you enjoy. So once you have your paper to this point, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be using that spray water bottle. And this is the part that can get a little messy, so make sure you don't have anything out that could get messed up. Make sure you have some paper towels ready or on hand when it starts to get a little messy. Because what we're going to be doing is, I don't know if you can see it here, I'm also going to show you on this paper as well, so don't worry if you can't. But basically, my paper's laid out flat. This is my center line right here. On the top portion, that's where I have my city drawn in with the markers and colored in nice and neat. You're going to lay your paper down flat, and on the bottom portion right here, that's where you're going to spray it with the water. After you spray it with water, because this is going to move pretty quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and start to tell you. After you spray the whole bottom portion with the water, you're then going to fold the city into kind of that watered down bottom half. And you're going to let it kind of press into the table. All right? This is where it gets messy because around the edges, you'll start to see kind of the markers bleed. But I'm going to go ahead and move this computer out of the way so that you can see me do this. And so you can see kind of like what it looks like in the end. So here's my paper. I'm laying it down flat. I'm taking my spray bottle. I'm not spraying it directly over the buildings on the top half. I'm only spraying it on the bottom half of the paper. You want a decent amount. You don't want to completely overload it, but you want to be able to tell that there's a pretty even fill of water. I'm going to flip my paper and fold it back closed. I'm going to press it in. I'm going to give it just a minute. I'm rubbing it down, but you want to rub it a ton because if you rub your paper too much, and we all know if it's wet and we're rubbing it too much, it's going to start to break your paper down. So I am being kind of fragile and gentle with the paper at this point, but I am giving it some pressure and kind of rubbing around, making sure it's soaking the water. You can tell the markers are starting to bleed. That's something you want. That's what creates the effect of the reflection. All right. Give it a few more seconds. You can tell it starts to get messy here. I'm gonna unfold it. And this is something along the lines of what you'll be left with. So it's pretty cool. You can tell already mine's starting to bleed. It's also because I'm kind of holding it up. So I would advise to, when you open it up, just kind of let it dry right there while you can. That way it doesn't kind of bleed or drip like you see on mine. But altogether, it's a pretty cool effect. I'll lay mine down, let it dry, clean up my